On this week's episode of the Kokomo Press Podcast, we have a very special guest. Her name is Katelyn Myers of Creative Curiosities and Oddities. She does taxidermy, stained glass, and she just does all different sorts of art. And she helps to create a bunch of art shows. And she was featured on our Creative Spotlight here at the Kokomo Press. Me and Brian had a wonderful conversation with Katelyn, and we hope you guys really enjoy this. We talk about so many great things. Do not miss this episode. Stay tuned. Here we go.
Warning, this video contains adult content not suitable for children.
What's up? It's the Kokomo Press Podcast. I'm Jordan Granger, and as always, I'm joined by one of the best co-hosts on the planet.
It's your baby mother's baby cousin, Brian West.
Brian West is in the house, man. The original OG, and it's been a while, so you guys have been asking for the man. He's back. And we have a very special guest today, somebody who I've been trying to get on the podcast for like 2 months, and we literally just went back and forth. Ladies and gentlemen, Creative Curiosities herself, Katelyn Myers. Woo!
Thank you.
Welcome to the show. Well, we originally set you up to come on, and then you're like, I need to reschedule.
Yeah, there's been a lot of different, like the last tragedy, I don't know, big thing was my dog, my idiot dog, lopped up some fucking crumbs in a trash can, and I had thrown out like a broken jar of I think it was a dome, but I was just, similar to a glass candle.
Yeah. Threw
it in the trash, didn't think anything of it. 3 days later or so, whatever it was, she lopped up crumbs in this trash can, cut the bottom of her tongue.
Ooh. Oh, no.
So we had to go to the Fisher's ER 24-hour vet.
Yeah.
And we get there, we left at 6 o'clock. And we didn't get back till 3 in the morning, and it was just a whole. Because they didn't need to stitch it. It saved us $450.
That's good.
So it would have been $1,000 in total to go get this stupid dog's tongue looked at.
Poor puppy dog.
Yeah.
It happens, man. Dogs.
I know.
Dogs are so dumb. We love them so much, but they're it's like literally having a toddler that can't talk just walk around you all day.
I know. I'm thinking about all these animals I have sometimes, and sadly enough, I've tried to raise more layer hens because I've gotten an abundance of messages about eggs recently, and so it's a whole thing. And
I wonder why. It's not because we're having a national egg shortage or anything.
I learned that it was into that before I even learned the egg, because I haven't bought eggs in probably 2 years, to be completely honest. And I didn't know what egg prices were. So when people were think eggs are really expensive, I was like, what? I was like, I don't look at the eggs. I just pass right by them. They're not even a thing at the store. So, and then you get these other people that I know someone, and there's 4 dudes in the house. There's they spend about $200 on eggs. Yeah. Eggs alone a month or so. And I'm just trying to even it out.
They bodybuilding or something?
Yeah, it's jujitsu. It's working out. It's all kinds of stuff. So, but I've learned, so I have these goose eggs, duck eggs, chicken eggs. I've learned all different types of egg facts. But inevitably, some of the chicks die, within a few days of being, old. I can make some money off of those inevitably. I spent $3 on a glass dome. The chick cost me $4, so I'll get a free $60 out of the chick I'm
Well, let me set you up a little bit, because people are like, why are we talking about animals and eggs and stuff?
I
and
know.
I'm like, Katelyn has so much. You do so much. You really are. You're very prolific. You're an artist. You do a little bit of that. You do, but you do an artist in a bunch of different ways. You also do oddity art and taxidermy and a bunch of cool stuff. I want to definitely bring this up to kind of show people, if you're wondering how do I get a little bit more in depth on what Katelyn does. We did do a creative spotlight with Katelyn where you can see she does taxidermy, oddity art, stained glass, and more. And we did a whole interview in your space. You showed us some of your art. It was a really cool experience. I like doing that, and it was the only one I've done so far. I might be doing
only
one coming
artist,
up.
really?
Yeah, the only one.
Who's the other artist?
It's the only. If
you can't announce it, don't tell me.
No, it's the only creative spotlight I've done so far. I wanted to do other ones, but most of the people that I've talked to that do that wanted to do it were all physical artists, and I wanted to do a mixture of digital art, physical art. I wanted to do, and I haven't found anybody. One of the guys I wanted to do was a hip hop artist producer, and I wanted to get him on.
That's why we need to get a meeting together, because I actually, with this committee I signed with not signed with, but they asked me to be a part of.
Yeah.
They're wanting some help with finding volunteers and vendors for events and stuff, and Peru area and stuff. And I felt kind of really honored because and I know the connections came from people I don't talk to very often, but because we're both artists and we get along, we can talk to each other well. I'm very thankful I know these kinds of people, and same with you. I don't talk to you very often, but it
we always end up doing stuff that's like artistic.
It is.
Well,
and
you were putting on shows too for a minute. Like you always would do like music with your art exhibits, and I know it's a lot to deal with.
I've learned the hard way with that. That's another reason I'm trying to think about it differently this year. And even if maybe only a couple things on my end event wise happen this year, I hope that they're learning experiences. I hope that they're successful.
Yeah.
And I hope I can, in the long run, change people's mindsets with what it means to take yourself seriously as an artist, but not, get so dragged down by the money or the professionalism or the paperwork even. Because I think sometimes I get looked upon as, with the money, I've been called greedy.
Yeah.
With the paperwork, they're like, well, why do you need it? And it's like, well, I know so many people that, along with myself, have illegally picked up deer.
Yeah.
Like, it's these little things you learn along the way where originally it's more of a mindset of saving your own ass, and because you can only play the dumb card once, so if you knowingly are doing something that is like, oh, you've been told by the DNR or whoever, and that's
why a lot of artists, like I think what you're kind of hitting on a little bit is a lot of artists are like anarchists and communists,
very
or like
punk,
they're very like punk oriented, where they're like, listen, we don't really believe, we're like anti-capitalist, but they have to eat, so they have to sell art, and then once you commoditize it, like they've already commoditized themselves like for it in order to do it, but once you commoditize it in somebody else's, they're really leery of other people being involved in their art to the point that they pretend like it's a problem to make money from art, or to do, like, if you do a whole show where you're like, I want to get 80 vendors in here. We're going to have 100 vendors in here. We're going to have different people set up different artists. I'm sorry, somebody has to be in charge of that. Somebody has to get the paperwork together. Somebody has to get the insurance. There's so many things.
6 months to a year to even
I did a festival.
Yeah.
And when we did our festivals, it is brutal.
I'm excited
the amount
to work
of
on that a little bit more with you this year. Because even with the Miami County, people, they were like, do you know any other artists? And I'm asked that so many times, and I'm like, I hope that maybe I can start on my paperwork, put a little checkbox to each of these over 100 names at this point of, do you give me permission to share your info? It's your Instagram and maybe your phone number, and that's about it. Maybe it has your name, business name, and it's like how I can keep track of all these different
people. Like a call sheet, like, hey, are you interested? Like, it's kind of, they can opt into whether they want to be a part of, like, not like an art collective where it's like, hey, I'm going to float names of, whenever I do shows, like, people always ask me, do I know more artists? Well, in this case, I can give them your name if you want to be involved. If you don't want to be, that's fine, but I can do it.
And that's another thing I think that people get weird about as artists or whatever in this group of people, if you will. I've had, like, with the events I've done, I've had people willingly, I've presented the information, they've signed themselves up. The money you put into that is not usually just pocketed. No. I don't know how many times I've talked to people that maybe you pocket $5 from that for the hours, months of work that you're doing, but it's going towards your vendor fee. Like I said before, I think to you, I should have sent everyone home that had a 4-foot by 8-foot pegboard.
Yeah.
Take that shit home, man.
Yeah.
I have 20 of them plus in my barn right now that I will reuse.
You said peg, and I started, my head was like, we were joking at band. I had band practice this morning. We were at band practice this morning. We were talking about pegging, and we were all joking around. Like, I made a joke, and then like my buddy Jeremy was like, who told you, or whatever. We're just goofing off. So anytime I hear peg, it's like that dog meme with like all the helicopters. That's what I think of. Like, like Brian does the same thing, because Brian he does a lot of like he's starting to do a lot of local comedy shows, so you have to get a hold of artists, and you have to, like, you almost have to schmooze people up a little bit, right?
True. Yeah, you gotta schmooze them up. I mean, I don't know, I wouldn't expect you, but I go the oral sex route. Just knock it out of the way, because then I'm not dealing with all the paperwork and stuff. They take care of that once you blow them. So
everybody wants to fill out the paperwork when there's a blowjob. That's funny.
Like the taxidermy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like what? So what do you do? I guess basically, you got to get that stuff you got to take it off the road and find it and things like that.
What's funny is I don't always just find it.
You don't?
People
give it to you.
I've been given, I've been mailed, I've driven for a $200 worth of a dead peacock recently.
Oh, that's
and they were like, or best offer. And I said to Calvin, my boyfriend, I said, if I make this one sale, it was like $250 for these items. I said, if I make this sale today, our date, it was only coincidental that this day would have even lined up to drive. It took us maybe 6 hours total there and back to drive to, like, it was close to Grand Rapids and back.
Oh, so you went all the way up to Michigan.
Yeah, no. And that's truly because, like, I've always loved peacocks. Anyone who knows me is just like, I dress in those colors most of the time. It's just,
your shirt right now is pretty colorful.
Yeah, it
looks a little under the water.
Peacocky.
Yeah, I like it.
I've always wanted one. I've learned through having my own flock of birds now. They could be a nuisance. How
many different animals do you have? I want to...
Like currently?
Like
or in total?
I know at one point you did have a pig, but obviously at some point you had... Like, pigs have to get taken care of, like, eventually.
No, not even that way. It was more of... He probably ended up on a farm, and fuck that pig.
You have dogs, cats, you have a pig.
Okay, so
chickens.
I've had rabbits before. We have a leopard gecko, a ball python. Those stay in my daughter's room. Yeah. And... So there was a little tiny, like, dip in the cage top.
Yeah.
This snake got out and crawled up into one of my daughter's drawers. And it's not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Even if a snake bite probably is, but
yeah.
We went in there and Calvin always is like, is the snake still in there? And I'm like, yeah, it's still in there. And the girls, it was my daughter and her two friends all weekend.
Yeah.
They said one time, I don't know if the snake's in there. And I never went to go check. I was dealing with something in the kitchen. And then come like Monday or so, it was like a couple days later, I look in there. I lifted up the rock. I said, Calvin, please don't hate me. My palms got real sweaty. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, I don't. And we ripped her room apart. He opened that top drawer and was like, oh. There he is. His name's Donut. So.
Donut. That's
but he was just chilling,
just chilling there, and I don't know. There's no explanation other than snakes can do that.
Yeah.
But
they're like an octopus,
have, like,
right? Can't octopus get out of small holes too? Like they just have a way to get through.
The cleverest creatures ever.
Yeah,
they're like my second favorite animal.
That's awesome though. I mean, I love the fact that.
I mean, have you seen my recent post about my geese?
I don't think so. Did I miss that one?
Yeah, probably.
What'd you say?
Oh, my God. So, you know how the overall storyline so far is my dick. My goose is a dick.
Yeah, they're goose.
Yeah. And geese are, okay?
My dick is a goose, so we're all good here.
So, I've got these geese. They're white Chinese geese. The male is George, the other's Matilda.
Don't get COVID.
They're a mated pair, and I've raised them since they were babies. And for a while now, probably now that I know this is breeding season, he has been very, like, I wouldn't say cage aggressive because they can go anywhere, but he'll get real low, and he's strong. His bite is strong. His wings are hella strong. He'll hurt you.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure for the last few months, I've just been stealing their children. Because I'm pretty sure these eggs, because I've not noticed her become broody, which means, like, they're going to take care of their young, and nest. And some of my chickens are and some aren't. So, like, it's hard to tell when they lay it all in one nest, But I've watched her sit on this spot a few times, and I'm like, shit. Maybe this is why he's mad.
Yeah.
And I've left a couple out there so far, and maybe they'll hatch, maybe they won't. But I think the other chickens, because I have a rooster too, they have started laying in that spot because she, I think, sits there. So I think he's just mad. So I posted the Antoine, what's his face meme or whatever, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your husband. I'm like, this is my chicken and goose's perspective of me, because I'm just taking their eggs every day, and I gave them, mated pairs. So I'm like, damn, maybe I'm the dick.
Yeah, maybe it's me. Maybe the whole time. You never think that you're the dick. At the end of the day, you never like, I'm the dick.
It's a self-realizing.
I was the bad guy the whole time, and I didn't even know.
But you know what? It's funny because I will probably continue to gather these eggs over the time they lay eggs, because they do lay so many a year. But I've learned goose eggs, they're not sold in stores. Neither are duck eggs. You're going to have to go to specific spots that sell these things. But like a goose egg compared to a chicken egg is almost 200 more calories and 200 more, I think it was maybe grams of protein.
Yeah.
So there's like 200 some grams of protein in a goose egg versus 70. I can't remember the exact numbers, but it's a significant difference. Like one goose egg it can make for me 3 breakfast sandwiches.
How many calories in a female human embryo bag?
How many? What are the similarities? What's different between?
Have you tried them? Have you ate one?
All of them. Egg? Yeah. No,
What's a goose egg taste like?
I don't really see a difference in taste. Just the fact that like their shells are so much harder. They usually will lay near water in the wild, so like that's why their shells are typically harder. Same as ducks. But just the overall vitamins, like A, B, whatever, D. There's so many, and there's just so much more in a goose egg, and it's like goose, duck, chicken. That's like the best to last, Right.
Well, which is pretty interesting because if you piss off that dude, that boy goose, you're gonna get a goose egg because he's gonna knock your ass out. That's all I can think of. He's like, oh, you want a goose egg? I'll give you one, motherfucker.
A real bad bruise where he bit me for a couple weeks. Yeah, it took to. Yeah, it looked like you hit me with a baseball.
They got little buttholes. I don't know how they're set up. I know that's what.
I had to grab his little head, and I'm like, George, we're not doing this today.
I mean, birds are no joke. I actually have this. I actually saved this for us on here. But a bald eagle smashed a window at a Virginia tax office and
he just fell. Yeah, most of them hit it and die. Yeah. He just was fuck this window.
And it said a bald eagle has made an unexpected appearance at a Virginia tax preparation office, slamming into a window and then apparently flying off without serious
he didn't break
injuries.
The window though.
No, it seems like he flew into the window and then. No, he obviously smashed it. It says smashed his window.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he definitely smashed it, but apparently he was like, man, this was a hell of a Tuesday.
It's so sad because when birds fly into windows, they just don't know it's there.
Yeah,
they see the glare or something. Yeah, they don't.
He had to go to be in another Freedom montage video.
Montage.
Even Rocky had a montage.
My son's obsessed with South Park. Did you see my post?
Yeah, I was going to tell you that real quick.
Yeah, did you let him watch it?
He was really smart about the way he did it because he was like, hey, Dad, can I get the login to HBO Max? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I sent him the info, and he's like, thanks, Dad. I'm like, hold on. What are you going to watch?
Yeah.
I started thinking like Game of Thrones.
Euphoria, Dad.
And he's like, oh, no, I'm watching, I want to watch South Park. And I'm like, is that better? I don't know.
My Hunter went through his just recently South Park phase, and when we came down to it, I said yes. He watched it for months, and then there was an incident at school that him and some kids were saying some of the catchphrases.
Oh, yeah.
And the principal called, so now Destiny cut that shit off.
Yeah. He was like, you can't say fucking Jew, you fucking fat ass.
It's hard because kids, they're stuck in this innocence until they're influenced in a way that you have to break it. Yeah. It's a hard thing to do as a parent.
I think it sucks, and like, don't get me wrong, this is probably a soapbox I don't need to get on at all, but I feel like a lot of times kids nowadays, and we kind of talked about this I think a little bit before this, kids nowadays feel like anything you do, anytime they get punished, it's like you're oppressing them. It's like they're so oppressed.
She brought it up earlier.
Yeah, and you're very much right. And I feel like a lot of it has to do with, we've given too much power to the kids with like everything. We're like, oh, how you feel, your truth. Like, I hate the word.
It's not just how you feel.
My truth. And I'm like, I don't care about your truth. I care about the truth.
I mean, we're feeding them meals every night. Come on.
I know.
Yeah,
that's enough.
They're alive.
You have an Xbox. Yeah, it's 12 years old. You have an Xbox.
They've got so much, but it's hard to explain to a child that young that you're not there are natural consequences in the world, and you are just too young and you don't do enough to really learn those.
Yeah.
Like, it's like with my son. It's like, well, stop bouncing around or you're going to get hurt. Well, he inevitably gets hurt a lot. At this point, the doctor was almost concerned.
Oh, God.
Because he will stand there and just fall the fuck over. And I'm like, buddy, come on. I know I'm clumsy and I know you're clumsy, but come on.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just silly little 4-year-old boy shit. And I'm just, at this point, so frustrated because he fell and hit his head on a table. He was told no and busted his lip on his bed. I'm like, what? Yeah. And then I literally texted his teacher that night and I said, I'm sorry, this is what happened. And he wanted to wear a bandana the next day to school because Calvin wears one all the time. So I'm like, you look like you just got beat the fuck up and you're like having to look like a little punk ass going to school with your bandana. It's just like, at least you look a little tough, you know, with the whole busted lip and all.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, that's part of it. I mean, but boys get hurt. It's just what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, and like mine, this is actually funny too. The other day, my son, we had some trash. He has two things he has to do. He has to get his laundry together. Doesn't have to do his laundry. Just get it in there. And then that's outside of his room. And then he takes the trash out. Those two things. Other than that, you just got to keep your room clean, do your homework, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, he's almost 13 years old, so that's not too much to ask for him.
Yeah.
And so he gets home, we're like, hey, man, you need to go take the trash out. And he's like, okay. So he grabs all the trash, and Shelby leaves to go pick up Ryla, and I'm literally in the house hanging out, and he runs in. And I'm like, what is wrong? I cut my leg. I'm like, how did you cut your leg? He's like, one of the trash bags stabbed me. He's got a gash in his leg where it's pretty deep. Like, it's tiny. It's like a little tear.
Yeah.
But it's a gash in his leg, so I have to take like a butterfly. I clean it all up. I put some Neosporin spray on.
It's not an ER trip type of thing.
Yeah. I sprayed it down. I put a little butterfly Band-Aid, and then I put a Band-Aid on it because I had to be at work in like 20 minutes. I'm like, hey, bub, this is what you're getting. But like that's literally him. He's got a scar right here on his head.
I don't know if kids know how hard life can be, though.
No, it can
really
be way worse.
And when I was young, I feel like even if my parents let me be in a situation that I inevitably had to learn the consequences of my own actions, that they don't get to even let kids do that anymore.
Kids nowadays don't remember this, but we remember. You guys remember children's, what is it called?
I grew up on both.
Problem
You're
Child?
You're going to hate me because I don't know this.
You don't know Problem Child?
Oh, God, you got it. It'll
You're
be
so
just
lucky.
as good as if you watched it as a youth. It's so damn good.
So it's like a black comedy.
Okay.
And then that little boy on the left there with the bowl cut, and that's them older, but the little boy on the left had multiple movies, and it's like he gets adopted by a family, but he's an asshole.
Yeah.
No, he's not trying to kill him or anything. Well, maybe he is trying to kill him, but it's not like The Good Son. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like where it's like literal murder.
This is comedy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's played for jokes. It's like he's trying to he's an asshole. He's just an asshole kid, doesn't want to be adopted. Well, then by the end of the movie, he gets adopted and he's happy or whatever. Spoiler. And then they do a couple more of them, and one of them he meets this little girl, and she seems all sweet, and then he ends up finding out that she's worse than him, and I'm like, this is where y'all started getting toxic. Y'all watch this when you're a kid, and you're like, this is what her relationship is supposed to be like.
My mom
he loves
thought all
her.
my friends were the bad ones, and I was probably the bad one. So I was always grounded from these other people, and I guess for their sake, it was probably okay. I don't know.
One of my favorite actors of all time, John Ritter's in that movie. He's
he's
a
great.
dad. He's like the heartwarming dad that wins them over and stuff.
They don't make movies like that or shows that. I mean, Courage. My son's into Courage. I've always influenced them with these times of Billy and Mandy, the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, shows like that. It's like they don't make them like that.
Alternative stuff.
I mean, they won't even have we watched a movie that was, I don't remember what year it was made, but it had a pretty good fight scene, and it was not rated R or anything. But I was like, they don't make this for this age group anymore.
Yeah.
Shrek has a pretty good couple, little, what they wouldn't put in a film now.
Yeah.
Like with
There's
the
a
Robin
couple
Hood
things.
scene or whatever
Oh,
it was. Yeah.
There's a lot of weird shit. I mean, there's a lot of nowadays of protecting. We want to protect people. We don't want anybody to feel like the other person.
You
we
know
want
that
to
scene
be
in
real
Shrek
accepted. Which
that
one?
they're walking and they blow up the animals?
Yeah.
I'll send you the video next time this happens. I've only done
Is
it
there a dick or
once
something
or
in the
twice.
background?
No. Okay, this is a personal experience of mine where so you can take an air compressor and a nozzle and cut a slit in the wrist of an animal, stick it between the muscle and the skin, and blow it up. And it'll separate most of the skin from the muscle. It makes skinning it a lot easier and a lot faster.
Well, they do that when they do
look
surgeries for people, like
balloon.
girls who get if you get an appendix surgery or a gallbladder, they literally do a bunch of holes. Yeah, tubes tied. They do a bunch of holes and you
that's the
blow you
worst
up
part.
and then cut through your belly button.
Yeah, the air is what I've heard is the worst part about recovery, but this is a dead animal, so it just looks like a dead animal balloon.
So that's what they did. They made the balloons into
It
animals.
just reminds
Wasn't one of
people
them
of
snake
that
or something?
scene. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember it.
I'll send you a video. It's a very, like, almost disturbing thing to see when someone's, like, sticking
If you're saying it's
arrows.
disturbing, it's got to be scary, dude.
I mean, a lot of people will ask, like, about what I do, and they're like, is it gross? Or they'll assume in a different situation, like, someone, like, cut their head pretty bad, and they're like, you want to see a picture? You deal with gross stuff. And I'm like,
No, not really.
I don't want to see a picture of a gashed open head. But they showed me anyway, and I was like, that's gross. They're like, really? Coming from you? And I was like...
It's dead.
It might
it's
take
different.
elbow deep into a raccoon grabbing the heart to be like, yeah, this is really gross. But it's not butterflies and rainbows the entire time you're skinning this animal. You have a lot of different things coming through your head.
Right. I mean,
like I'm horny.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
people.
That's that movie.
People.
It's weird when you get to the balls of an animal.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet. Ugh.
All balls look different on the inside.
People can
Just know that.
criticize you, yeah. Like I see them like criticizing me, and like, "Oh, that's nasty and stuff." But yet, we have fucking thousands of hunters that just gash the bellies of deer and just,
yeah.
and they make an art out of it. They're taking pictures with it, and it's like, what's the difference?
Or like
Well,
fish.
Oh, fish,
Fish.
yeah. And the thing is, at first when I started doing taxidermy, I knew some people that had these really cool oddity collections.
Yeah.
I have, as much as I can, tried to adapt a minimalist lifestyle where, like, going shopping with my kids,
Is that what the whole jean outfit's about? You're like, listen.
Oh, this is a thing I've just adapted to after, what is it, like a... What is a Canadian tuxedo?
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever?
there you go, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I can
Canadian
flaunt that
tuxedo.
any day.
Yeah, I love it.
My kids ask for other stuff, and I'm like, no, we already have so much that we don't use.
Yeah.
So when I started doing animals, I'm like, how much of this animal can I use? You know, even if it's not for meat. And so there's that aspect of it. But with the oddity, I just don't like collecting anything. So, like, if I don't create things and try to either get rid of them or sell them, it will sit in a box. It will be given away to someone random, you know. So in reality, I'm in my head wasting money on a hobby that I could get a lot out of.
But you have to also think about the experience of doing stuff. It gets you better, like you said with the muskrat. You're getting better at the taxidermy stuff, just because doing things lets you learn how to do like the tricks and basically how to do it easier, how to do it cleaner, how to
small animals are very much self-taught too.
If you have any deer pussies left over, let me know at the end because I'm looking.
I've got some. Yeah, like,
sorry, this is a comedy podcast. We're talking about some funny stuff. I have to make
I've got
jokes
some
every once
weird
in a while.
ass animal parts in my freezer.
Yeah.
I mean, I just sold my possum balls that I've had for like 3 years.
Sold them?
Yes, for $40. It was funny because when I did that animal, I don't think I could like use the skull. It was a crushed skull. There was only select things I could get from this. So like the paws, I'll make crystal things with them.
Crystal ball things or
crystal.
put a little crystal ball on there.
Yeah, pretty much. No,
I was thinking like literally. I've seen crystal balls with like
they're gonna he had these cute little balls, and they're not like, I mean, they stuck out so much. Most animals you see when you're like down to their nether regions.
We're talking about the possum, right?
Yes, and well, they're very like fuzzy, distinct. Like you would think they're like.
Good God.
What you
Can
would
I
think
get a
of?
necklace of possum balls?
Yes, you can if
awesome.
you really want.
Can you like put it
actually,
in resin?
Hold on, I could give you. I'm just gonna get rid of it. I'll give it to you. Mink balls.
Are they cool?
Mink testicles. They're not like the sack.
That's classy.
That's
it's
classy.
like this.
We'll put it. I got
It's
some
like
shelves.
this big.
I got some shelves I'm gonna put over here. Maybe we'll put some mink balls on there. You guys.
I'll
like,
give
who
you
doesn't
all
want
this
some mink
shit that I
balls?
just sometimes. It's like there's projects that I'll do, and sometimes after they sit there, or even with mobile curating, you've traveled with them, and it's not held up as well as you thought. It might not even be a piece that you're trying to sell.
Let's show people this. This is one thing you've done with taxidermy.
Oh, yes, that's my most recent. And that one showed me a lot of how much better I've become.
Yeah,
chipmunks
I
are hard to come by.
And you do like the whole
sourced.
that's a chipmunk, okay?
Yes.
You do like a whole decor like that sits on a little mount.
You'd be surprised on how many boxes. I condensed them now, but just of. I mean, dead bugs, things I find on the ground. That stick is actually I think it might be fake. I thought it was something.
If I ever catch that chipmunk that's been terrorizing my house, you might get another one. I'm just saying.
They're really hard to find. I found him, like his guts were squished out his belly, you know? And that's like with the muskrat you were asking about. You can tell the trauma they endured. And it is a sad thought to think of how it died or, you know, and when you asked, you know, what goes into even being willing to, that actually, and that's the other thing. So I'll buy certain containers. This one, it's really hard I can't find a source for snow globes very well.
Yeah.
This one, I tried to seal the best I could, but it just wouldn't. So it's the same shape, just in a different jar.
Yeah.
I was kind of disappointed, but...
Hey, guys, you're seeing me a little early here. We had some technical difficulties tonight on the podcast. I want to go ahead and shout out Katelyn and say thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to finish this show today, since we had so many issues, with our episode of the Creative Spotlight with her, so you can get a little bit more of an idea of who she is. Again, we had a technical difficulty and things like this happen, so we're going to roll with it. Thank you guys for checking out this episode of the podcast, and make sure you stay tuned here and watch this exciting episode of the Creative Spotlight with Creative Curiosities and Oddities herself, Katelyn Myers. Thank you.
I'm Katelyn Myers. I am a business owner with Creative Curiosities. I do taxidermy and oddity art, and just art in general. It's kind of hard to explain what I do sometimes because it's like a slew of everything. Lately I've been doing stained glass for some people. At first, when I really kind of got into looking into what oddity art is and everything, I was like, oh my gosh, you can actually make money off of this. It's one thing to have it as a hobby, but it's another mindset to have it as a career. I'm trying to create something that is going to catch your eye. At high school, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I volunteered at a vet. I was like, I didn't really want to do that. And then I thought about mortuary science because I'm like, I do want to help people respect the grieving process and everything. And that really intrigued me. One, my first question was, how do you stay ethically sourced? How do you not work with like a hunter or a trapper? So roadkill was an option. I've worked with either roadkill or pets that have been brought to me. Feeder rats from snake food and things like that. Cats have brought me things. Whole sources of animals out there, as you probably don't know. But it kind of took on its life of its own. I started with bugs, and then I was like, how do you get more into doing taxidermy? So it's kind of just been a self-learned process. I kind of specialize in the small animals so far. 2018, 19-ish, I started I would make resin pendants, and I started with jewelry, and then just incorporated animal bones and feathers. It helps people grieve in their own way. It's very unique to help someone be able to do that, is pretty cool. I never dissected anything in school. I never did anything with anatomy. Closest I got with anything close to what I do is probably volunteering at the vet, and that was just watching someone do a surgery. I didn't want to be a vet because it was hard for me to see an animal wake up from anesthesia that they're so floppy they look dead, and then they wake up in a lot of pain, and they've been through, I've watched their organs be tugged and ripped and pulled and all this, so it was really weird. It's different because when you're skinning something, you're not aggressive with it, but to kill something is a very swift action. People will hit an animal that has been dead on the road just multiple times. It's nothing after a while. It's fun to help people find what they want to do with things. It is kind of hard to explain to people what I do sometimes when they're very set in that mindset of, this grosses me out. Sometimes I just understand it, it's just not for you. I want to be more professional about it and not just the aesthetic of collecting oddities. I feel my inventory is a come and go collection, and I hate collecting things. Most people assume they can't afford it, and I try to keep my things affordable. So technically it's kind of free money when you're, finding a raccoon on the side of the road. But most people don't want to do that. A lot of people will ask sometimes at my booth, have you killed these animals? Personally, I've not lost a pet. I do offer cremating I did someone's cat. They specifically wanted it cremated, and it's a fraction of the cost of what you're going to pay at a vet or a memorial place. You can either go to my website, creativeodditiesandcuriosities.com, Instagram, which is Creative Curiosities, Facebook.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Kokomo Press Podcast. We really appreciate you. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can check us out on the Kokomo Press at Facebook, at YouTube, at Instagram, or you can follow us all on our individual accounts if you want on Twitter or Facebook or wherever. You can get our merch, or if you really, really, really want to help us out, it's only $5. You can actually subscribe to our Patreon. Check that out because we have a lot of content we want to give you guys, and we want to put more and more out, and it's starting to get expensive. So hit us up. Thank you for watching this episode of the Kokomo Press Podcast. Thank you so much. We love you. 2 kisses.